Yo, what is going on, guys? We are back today for another video. We got a very fun topic to be discussing, and that is going to be all about awakening gems. Now, not just awakening gems, but 7-star awakening gems specifically. Only talking about champions that exist as 7 stars in today's video. So, I think awakening gems are one of the most precious resources in the game. So, I am extremely strict with the champions that I would give an awakening gem to. Now, that is me. That is my opinion, my strictness. You don't have to be as strict with these resources as me. You can give this awakening gem to whoever you like, even if they're not on my list. But this list just try to help you make the best decision. It's just advice, though. Don't feel the need to take it. All right, let's go ahead and get into the list. So we're going to be going class by class. And so we're going to have generic worthy options at the top, class gem worthy options second, and then if you really love the champ, I could see giving them an awakening gem. So like I said, this is going to be very strict. Now let's go ahead and start with the worst class in the game for 7 stars, and that is skill. And boy oh boy is it rough. So let's just reveal this one. So some red, here's some red. We can do a little bit of a lighter red, and we'll get some, or we can do gray for the top. We'll save the generic worthy actually. Let's start with what we've got so far. So if you love them, we got MCOC and Black Panther Civil War. So, MCOC, this is if, you did me, Karate Mike, and Fintech's challenge, and you picked 2 different champions. So you're left with an unawakened MCOC like I am. I'm not the only one in this situation. There's a lot of us out there. So if you are in this situation, you pull a skill gem, you like MCOC, yeah, I can absolutely see giving him an awakening gem. Totally, sure. That's MCOC. Other champ on the list here is Black Panther Civil War. So let's say you got Black Panther from the recent banquet event, but you never got him duped. You're not going to be opening up any more of those gacha boxes, so you're stuck and left with an unduped 7-star Black Panther Civil War. Again, if you're in this situation, you like Black Panther, you want to give him the gem from the event or a skill awakening gem, you can totally see it. If you're a fan of this champion, yeah, I think it is totally justifiable. All right. Moving on, we have class-worthy options. These are great options. Atuma and Crossbones. We only got 2 options here, but that's them. I think, if you are a big fan of Crossbones, you have a skill gem, you're going to invest in him, and totally see that. I think he's a good option. Other option here is Atuma. Now, he is the option I am waiting for. I currently have, unfortunately, a skill awakening gem. I think a skill awakening gem is by far the weakest out of every awakening gem. You're about to see why in just a sec, but I do think Atuma is one of the best options, especially if you're going to sig him up. So, I don't even have him, but once I get him, I'm probably going to give him my skill gem and sig him up. Now, what about our generic worthy options? Well, that's where the skill class really sucks. There's none. I would not use a generic awakening gem on any skill champion in the game right now that exists as a 7-star. Not a single one is worthy of a generic awakening gem, in my opinion. Not a single one. None of them even come close. Yeah, that is why the skill class is so garbage, man. If we had like Nick Fury, Kate Bishop, Kingpin as 7 stars, then this would be a completely different story. And there would be some champions listed here in the generic worthy category, but there's not. So this is why the skill class sucks. It's so bad. Yeah, I would not use generic gem on anyone in the skill class. Skill class is looking rough. If you pull the skill awakening gem, man, I feel bad for you. But I also got one, so you're not alone. I just pray to Kabam Jesus that I don't pull another one. I'm gonna be pissed if that happens. Honestly, I really hope Kabam inputs some type of trade offer where you can just trade in one class gem and you get back one of the other 5 classes. You don't get in the one that you traded in. Maybe there's a fee, maybe custom units. Who knows how it would be, maybe in the Black ISO market for sigil holders or something. But I've already seen some other people double up on Awakening Gems, and I just really hope that doesn't happen to me. It's going to suck. I've technically already pulled my second Tech Awakening Gem, but that's not bad. The Tech class is decent. Speaking of the Tech class, let's talk about it. So let's go ahead and reveal what we got written down for Tech. We'll start like we did with Skill. So we got If You Love 'Em, Punisher 2099, and Ultron. So let's go jump to the skill, or sorry, the Tech 7-star class here. So we have Ultron. Now the reason I put Ultron here is because he's very rare. So if you love Ultron and you got really lucky and managed to get him, and you got a Tech Gem and you want to rank him up and sig him up, I see no problem in that at all. Go for it, man. It'd be cool. There's very few 7-star Ultrons out there. Far fewer awakened 7-star Ultrons out there, so that'd be pretty cool. And plus, Ultron's awakened ability, you know, it is great. Especially once you sig it up, you can basically get pseudo immunity to Incinerate and Shock, which is awesome. That'd be great. Now, Punisher 2099 is not someone I use, but again, if you love him, I can totally see getting this guy awakened. That second bullet point there, of, you know, when you push your opponent to 3 bars, the battery kicks in and it drains their power a bit and applies a power lock. So that seems very, very useful when you're playing this champion. So yeah, I could see Punisher getting one. Then we have our class-worthy options with Sentinel and Red Skull. So 2 champs that I really like. One that I don't know a ton about, which is Sentinel. And I have, you know, I'm going to give Sentinel an Awakening Gem. I pretty much already decided that. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to wait to make a video on it. But what is that going to give us? What is that going to give our Sentinel? Well, it's going to give us 3 different things, just awakening him. The first one is our debuffs are going to last longer. So, all except Intimidate. So, you know, that's our Armor Break, our Heal Block, our Incinerate. All those debuffs are just going to be lasting longer. That's great. The next bullet point is a very heavily defensive part of his kit. So once per fight, when dropping below 20% of max health, Sentinel activates 3 armor buffs, granting 2600 armor rating for 3.5 seconds, expiring 1 at a time. Each time one of these armor up buffs ends for any reason other than being removed, Sentinel passively gains 90% of a bar of power. So this is kind of reminiscent of Iron Man Infinity Wars Awakened ability. You know, at the end of the fight, he gains that armor, then he gains power gain. This is similar to that. So it's just going to make him even crazier at the end of fights. And he's already insanely tanky and great defensively, so it's just going to add to that defensive threat. And again, on offense, your debuffs are going to be lasting longer, which is great. So yeah, I think Sentinel is a very good candidate for a Tech Gem. That's my plan, to give him the Tech Awakening Gem. Like I said, it's my second Tech Gem already, so it's perfect. I wanted the Tech Gem. So, and then we have Red Skull. So Red Skull I awakened naturally, and the Sig on Red Skull is not important at all. But just Sig 1, getting him awakened, is massive for the second bullet point. The first bullet point, it gives him a little bit of power when you're charging a heavy attack, and your Sig levels are just increase this small amount of power percentage. Again, not a big deal. Second bullet point though, just Sig 1, all you need for this. Every 10th basic attack grants Red Skull 1 armor up buff. Now, read and understand that sentence again. Every 10th basic attack grants Red Skull 1 armor up buff. That does not say every 10 combo hits. That does not say every 10 combo hits of yours or your opponent's. No, 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 no. First of all, it doesn't need to be a combo string, and it doesn't matter who's using the hit. Just simply, every 10th basic attack that occurs in a fight will grant Red Skull an armor up. This is massive, dude. You just get so much more armor when you're awakened. Like, this is such a game changer for Red Skull, offensively and defensively. And again, just Sig 1 and you're good. So I think he is a great candidate to get a regular class Tech Awakening Gem. Okay, well, what about generic worthy? Is there even any generic worthy in the Tech class? And there's one, and that's Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. So again, running back to the MCOC comparison that I made at the start of this video, a lot of people picked Masacre and another champ. I would say most people went one Masacre, one Stark Spidey, if you pick two. So a lot of people were in the situation where they had an unawakened Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. Now, luckily, I got, like I said, my first ever tech gem, and I was absolutely the number one thing that I wanted. That was like the only good thing from Cyber Weekend for me. Everything else was pretty bad and unlucky, but getting the tech gem for Stark Spidey was all I really could ask for that event. We got it. I would have absolutely given Stark Spidey a generic Awakening gem if I had the opportunity and I needed to. 100%. If I couldn't get tech, but there's a way for me to get generic, I would have, and I would have used on Stark Spidey. There's no doubt in my mind. I wanted him awakened more than any other champion in the game. And since awakening him and getting that signature ability, Hero's Mantra, it is an absolute game changer for the champion. You know, Stark Spidey already hits like a truck, and the awakening ability, and again, doesn't need to be super high sig because of the way diminishing returns scales. Low sig's fine, and you're gonna increase your crit rate exponentially. You know, you're gaining at sig 11 here. It's 847 critical rating per poise charge. So, you know, you build up to max 10 poise, you have over 8,000 additional crit rating. And again, with diminishing returns, 8,000 crit rating versus like 12,000 crit rating, it's not that big of a difference. Once you get to that high of numbers already, diminishing returns makes the number of crits from 8,000 crit chance to 12,000. It's not that big of a difference, you know. So even low sig's totally fine, but just being awake with Stark Spidey, it's such an absolute game changer. You'll see the difference immediately just in the amount of yellow numbers. I totally think Stark Spidey is worth a generic. I would absolutely give him one personally, but that's the tech class here. No one else is generic worthy here, in my opinion. That's how we're looking for tech. All right, let's go ahead and move on now to the science class. And let's, again, pull up some champs. So science, I think, is the most populated. Surprise, surprise. It is the best class in the game. So, yeah, we're just floated with champs here already. So, if you love them, Silk's got a pretty good awaken ability. You know, it allows her to have access to slow on her heavies. And also, scaling with Sig, you can affect champions' regeneration rate, which, you know, it's not too bad, but just having access to the slow is pretty nice and could warrant a Science Awakening gem. Again, circling back to Masacre, Stark Spidey. Some people also just picked up one Spidey 2099, and his damage, definitely a lot of his damage is locked away in the signature ability, especially scaling with Sig. So if you really are into Spidey 99, I can totally see giving him an Awakening gem and sigging him up. And then we have Luke Cage. So, you know, Luke Cage is not a terrible option for an Awakening gem. Just being awakened, you know, allows him to have access to that indestructible, which is a very big deal. Plus, there's some other little goodies in his sig too. So, not a terrible option. If you love Luke Cage, you could totally see it. Now we have our class-worthy options. And again, there's so many options. You know, I had to put in the homie Spot. Spot is absolutely worth a Science Awakening gem. I wouldn't go as far as to say give him a generic, but a Science gem for sure. And Spot, you know, you can see my Spot. He is very high sig. I don't have a champion that is a higher sig level than 180. I have a couple champions at this level, but none past it. So technically, Spot is my highest sig level champion. But he wasn't always. You know, I had Spot rank 3, sig 20, sig 40 for a very long time, sig 45 forever. And that was plenty, dude. Just getting Spot awakened and like those first 20 to 60 sigs on him at a rank 3 level, the damage output is just absolutely phenomenal. You can just nuke so many fights so quickly. You can nuke onslaughts. You can nuke just about every Mystic champion other than Werewolf by Night. Don't try to spot Werewolf. It is not a good matchup just because of the way Werewolf's AI acts in it. But yeah, pretty much any other Mystic champion spot nukes. he's just incredible. Spot remains to be, might be the most underrated champion in game, and not everyone is going to agree with that, but that's just a simple fact into showing how underrated he is, that people still doubt him. But anyways, let's move on from Spot. I talk about him enough. We have, 3 of the best science champs out there: Titania, Hulk, Spider-Ham. Now, all 3 of these champions, are in the basic pool, so it makes a lot more sense to use Awakening Gems on champions that aren't in the basic pool, because you could use an Awakening Gem and then pull them, just like I did with Hulk. Literally gave him a Science Awakening Gem from Cyber Weekend, and then my very last 7-star crystal that I opened for that event out-popped a Hulk. And it feels like crap when you awaken a champ and then pull them from a crystal, making that entire Awakening Gem, that is, again, one of the highest price ticket items in game, feel absolutely useless, and like you just burned it. It's like lighting money on fire, like that does not feel good. So you got to be careful with who you're awakening, but I do think all of these champions warrant a Science Awakening Gem. That's Titania, Hulk, and Spider-Man. I think all 3 of these champions are absolutely good enough to warrant it. It makes Hulk a great defender in Battlegrounds, throw him on defense if he's awakened. Spider-Ham, it allows him to get an additional power sting, plus a whole bunch of other stuff written in this awakening ability. There's all kinds of stuff. So yeah, when he evades, you place an additional Porker Popper, which you can totally use that evade to like evade special attacks, for example. And then while Spider Nonsense is at 10, which is your max, it lasts for a little bit longer, and that duration scales with Sig. It's not the most important signature ability out there, but it's definitely nice to have, and definitely does make him a little bit more annoying on defense. And then Titania, I used to underrate her Sig, but man, it's a good one. It's a very good one. So, I used to mainly think about the second bullet point of, this signature ability only working against large and extra large opponents, which is true, but the first bullet point works on every fight, and it is by far the biggest thing here. So that's whenever Titania inflicts a personal debuff, she has a chance to inflict it twice. Now this is massive, because every time you inflict a personal debuff with Titania, you knock 1 second off your Haymaker timer, your cooldown. So this just allows you to get your Haymakers back so much quicker, and yeah, it is a very nice awakening ability. Like, I played Titania at like a rank 2 level undo for a long time, and thought she was fine, didn't need to be awakened. Then I awakened her, and then I was shown the power. I'm like, oh, okay, I see. This awakening ability is massive. Like, it fundamentally changed the way that I would play her. Like, it's, yeah. So those are our class-worthy options. Now, what about generic-worthy? Do we even have any in science class? Yes, absolutely. We have more than one, and that is Photon, because Photon is incredible. Offensively, defensively, the Sig is going to help you. Great prestige, worth the signature level investment. Photon is just incredible. And then we also have Count Nefaria, because Count Nefaria is also absolutely bonkers incredible. And Count Nefaria definitely, I would say, out of like all the champs in game, like Count Nefaria is probably up there for being the most champion fed an Awakening Gem. But that's because he had a whole event built around him at his launch with a Saga Awakening Gem that could be used on him. So I think a lot of people did that, and it made sense. And I absolutely would have done that, but I got really lucky and managed to pull Count Nefaria actually out of one of his bundles, or early access bundles. I, rarely even buy those, and I've never bought 2 of them, but for the Count Nefaria event, I needed to spend a certain amount of money to get the Awakening Gem. So I did spend that money, ending up buying 2 of his early access bundles, and I managed to just get really lucky and pull the count there. So I was able to save an Awakening Gem, but I 100% would have given him the gem had I not pulled him, because this Awakening ability is really, 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 really good. Count Nefaria, he counters power gain and regen. In his base kit, he siphons some of that power gain, but he needs to be awakened to also siphon some of that regen. Kind of think about Scorpion's Awaken ability. It's reminiscent of that. But he also gets more stuff too. Like when the opponent gains a bar of a certain percentage of bar of power from a buff or from a passive within like half a second. He instantly gains 50 of his charges, which is cool. This also triggers when they gain a certain percent of max health for any reason within 0.5 seconds. So you can just ramp him faster in certain situations if you're dealing with a lot of power gain or regen. But yeah, this awaken ability is incredible, mainly for the regen siphon that you're going to get with it. And it definitely does not need to be a high sig level. Sig 20, sig 40 is going to be totally fine. So that is our science class options. Definitely the most out of any given class thus far. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Cosmic next. So for the Cosmic class, we have, if you love them, Maestro. Now, this one is very different from every other champion on the list because Maestro, you can get that awakened ability guaranteed on right here by completing the Karina challenges. But by no means do you have to do it this way. You know, that we have the option of picking the Maestro dupe or picking the most high value champion crystal in the game right now, which is a Titan Nexus crystal, which is very illustrious. So, you know, if you pull a Cosmic Gem, what you can do is go ahead and feed that to Maestro, and then when you do these Karina challenges, you can get a free Titan Nexus crystal. So that's totally a viable route you can go with Maestro. But now let's talk about some class-worthy options. So we have Angela, you know, who is a great champ. She's in the Incursion crystal, and she's great. I have pulled her a magnitude of times. Or is it multitude? Multitude of times. So she's up to Sig 80, and Angela definitely wants those Sigs. Angela was always like a good champion, but then she got a very unexpected buff, and it mainly focused on this awaken ability, and it's a very, very powerful awaken ability. So absolutely worth giving a class gem if you're a fan of Angela. Now, up next we have Scream, Hyperion, and Medusa. So, you know, Hyperion does not need Sigs. You know, you just want to get Hyperion awakened like Sig 20. Like you can see Sig 1 there. Hyperion has the most ridiculous Sig scaling in the whole game. Sig level 1, your buffs are increased by 65%. Signature level 200, they're only increased by less than 10 more percent at a max of 75.3%. So, you know, like seriously, Hyperion, Sig 1, done. Don't give him Sigs. Hyperion is like the biggest waste of Sig stones imaginable in this game. But the awaken ability is massive. Just increasing all your buff duration by 65% is huge. So just giving him a gem one time, get him awakened, Sig 1, great for Hyperion. But again, he is in the base pool. Scream is currently in the Titan pool. But man, she has a lot to her signature ability. You know, she has 4 different bullet points, all giving her something, and 3 of the bullet points focus on certain tag champions. So there's Spider-Verse heroes in there, symbiotes, and tag champions. So each of those different types of champions, you're going to get different bonuses. Of course, percentages scaling with the Sig. So I think Scream's awakening ability is great and worth the gem. But you know, if you're going to continue to open Titans while she's in there, definitely be careful. But I think the awakening ability can definitely warrant a gem. And then we have Medusa. Now, Medusa, I think, is one of the absolute best options for a Cosmic Gem specifically. Absolutely class worthy, without a doubt, because of her means. You know, she is with the Banquet event. So if you don't dupe her from there, then you're not going to be pulling her from any crystals, you know, so that makes your awakening gem feel like a very safe investment, and her awakening ability seems pretty awesome. So the first part is a bit more of a defensive ability with the auto block, but that second bullet point is massive for offense, gives her some very nice utility, which is whenever Medusa inflicts armor shatter or gains a fervor buff, gain a true accuracy buff for 35 seconds. So that just allows her to counter evade, which is awesome. So, you know, that awakening ability seems really good on Medusa. I don't have a Cosmic Gem, but I do have this. I'm So it might go to her. There's one other champion in mind that we've yet to talk about, but that is Medusa. I think she is a great, great option. All right, what about generic worthy? Is there any generic worthy cosmics? And yes, there's one. I think just one, and you guys should know who it is. Of course, Serpent. Serpent has one of the most powerful signature abilities in the whole game, with that death immunity, and the duration of that buff just lasting the longer the more you sig them up. So at sig level 1, a death immunity lasts for 5 whole seconds, and then at signature level 200, it lasts for a little over 8 seconds. But just getting him awakened, sig 1, that 5-second death immunity where his power gain and his regen just go bonkers off the chart is massive, and it's absolutely worth a generic awakening gem. One of the greatest awakening abilities in the game, simply put. Like, it's that powerful, it's that busted, that's broken, so it's easily worth a generic awakening gem for sure. Absolutely. All right, up next we have the Mystic class. So let's go ahead and start down here once again, and we have, if you love them, Hood, Diablo, and Juggernaut. So Hood has a cool, pretty good awakening ability, allowing him to have access to Power Steal. So that's great. Power Steal, who doesn't want Power Steal? Juggernaut also has a great awaken ability. It allows him to turn his weakness from a passive into a debuff so that he can actually heal from it when his gem isn't active. I remember utilizing this pretty soon after Jugs was buffed, way back when, in Eternity of Pain Gauntlet. And I had 2 Jugs on my team, and he was so good for. He was very underranked, but he was still just smashing it. And I was literally, for this one fight, I was just out of my Gem of Sidorak mode, but I was just willpower healing, because I was awakened. I was just healing from the debuff. It was free regen. So that's nice, but the more practical use of his awakened ability is that second bullet point, allowing for each unstoppable to give a percentage chance to nullify a buff, which is great. And you definitely don't need this at a high sig. I would not advise investing signature stones into Juggernaut. But just getting the awakened ability for him is massive. Juggernaut is one of the strongest champions in the game, so it's a decent awakened ability. Definitely not needed by any means. Juggernaut can also still control buffs, without the awakened ability. With his heavy attack, it applies 2 staggers. So if you need buff control, just heavy. But it's definitely a nice to have. And if you love Juggernaut and you have Miss Gem, you really want to awaken him, like, go nuts. Totally see it. And then Diablo, last but not least here. Well, Diablo, man, has a very, very good awaken ability. Toxic Experimentation. What it gives him is, while poisoned, Diablo takes reduced damage from all sources, 15% at sig 1, and a max of 30% at sig 200. And then while the opponent is poisoned, Diablo gains attack rating. So this is a great sig, dude. Just great signature ability. If you play Diablo all the time, I can absolutely see giving him a gem. All right, what about class-worthy options here? We got a lot of them. We have 4 different options here: Spiral, Rentra, Enchantress, and Kindred. So Kindred, Kindred is not for the faint of heart. If you're gonna awaken Kindred, you gotta have at least like 100 SIGs on standby too, and really invest in him, because he's just not worth it otherwise. But once you get him past like sig 100, look, I have to sneeze. Okay, I muted my mic in time. But yeah, if you're not going to get Kindred past signature level 100, I don't think he's really worth the awakening. But if you're willing to invest that much into him, I think he absolutely can be worth it. So yeah, that... Ooh, scrolled up here. That is Kindred. And then we have Enchantress as well. So her awakened ability seems interesting. Definitely not needed, but it is going to make her more annoying on defense. It's going to allow her spells to just last additional seconds. So at sig 1, 3 additional seconds. And then whenever a buff fails to activate on the opponent for a reason other than chance, or they are immune to a damaging effect, Enchantress instantly power steals a certain percentage of their max power. and that's a defensive ability because it says as an attacker, its potency is reduced. So yeah, I definitely think that could be worth it defensively. If I had a Mystic Gem like right now and I was forced to use it with my current roster, I mean, I don't have that many options, but Enchantress would be the champion that I would give it to. Then we also have Spiral. So Spiral seems really cool, and her Awaken ability is pretty nice. So the first bullet point there is while the Dancing Blades are active, she instantly regenerates up to 30 to 60% damage take from blocked hits. So that's great. That just sounds good, especially against Serpents. Just healing up some of that hefty block damage, that he gets with his Pierce. But the second bullet point is what I really like because Spiral doesn't have any damage over time immunities. She has immunity to Falter, which is neat, but that's it. It's no poison, bleed, shock, incinerate immunity straight up. But if you get her awakened and you figure up a bit, for each fervor on Spiral, the durations of incoming shock, incinerate, and poison debuffs are all reduced by 5 to 10%. So she can get some pseudo immunities through that awakened ability, which is pretty nice. So definitely not a bad sig to be investing in. And then we have one more option here. Now, it's a weird one, Rintrah, because some people will tell you it's a bad idea to even awaken Rintrah. Some people will literally tell you he's better off unduped. Now, I don't know about that one. There's a big difference between Rintrah unduped, Rintrah Sig 20, Rintrah Sig 100, and Rintrah Sig 200. There's a big difference between every single one of those Rintrahs. Now, I think Rintrah... Let's take a look at his Sig ability, because why people say... You might be thinking, like, why would anyone say he's better unduped? And it's because he gains power gain buffs with the Awaken ability. Now, when you're playing him offensively at Sig 200, it can easily feel like you just have way too much power to line up your cycle properly. I definitely felt that after I took my 6-star Rintrah to Sig 200 and was using him offensively. But a very big thing to keep in mind is that his Sig ability, the higher the Sig level, the better the defender. Not in every single circumstance, but for the most part, absolutely. So let's just read the signature ability together. So when the opponent fails to gain a buff due to reduced ability accuracy, while Rintrah is below 20 mystical charge, Rintrah gains a power gain buff, granting 2 to 10% of max power over 2 seconds, max 3 stacks. And then also when struck by or blocking an attack while unstoppable, passively regenerate missing health. So it's really that first bullet point with the power gain. So at Sig 1, getting 2% of a power gain buff, that's not too big of a deal. But compare that to Sig 200 when you're getting 10%. It's just power overload. So is Rintrah worth awakening? I think so. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I want to take him up to Sig 200, but I know one guy who did, and his name is Karate Mike. And yeah, there's Rintrah. You guys can see right there. Sig 200 Rintrah. So Mike awakened. I think he used an awakening gem. Either that or he pulled him twice, but he said, I'm pretty sure he used an awakening gem, and he sigged him all the way up to Sig 200. Now, I've talked to Mike about Rintrah, especially the 6-star back when, and I voiced my issue with him, like, I'm just getting too much power. And what Mike told me was, are you throwing a special 1? And I was like, no. He's like, okay, well, try that. And I did try that, and that definitely helped. So, you just need to dump some power, throw a special 1. It also just helps to get your opponent cornered, and it's honestly not that bad. So, I think the community makes Rintrah's Awakening ability and high Sig make it sound so much worse than it is, honestly. I think Karate Mike's a very smart dude, and I can totally see why he did this. And honestly, I think it's a good idea, especially if you're going to be putting Rintrah on defense, which, look at this health pool, dude. 112,000 HP on defense with Sig 200 with all those power gains. Yes, that's what you want on defense. That's what I want on defense, bro. Rank 3 Sig 200. So, yeah, the only situation where I can see that being detrimental on defense would be, if someone's using a Mystic Attacker and maybe punishing Rintra's power gain buffs and using Mystical Dispersion to take advantage. That's about the only scenario where I could see this being a negative on defense. Other than that, yeah, like, Sig up Rintra. I don't think it's that bad of a move. I'm not probably gonna take him to all the way to Sig 200, but like Sig 100, yeah, Sig 20, Sig 40, Sig 60, Sig 80, Sig 100, Sig 120, Sig 150. That's all fine by me. So Rintra's making the list. All right, what about generic worthy? Do we have anyone there? I think we do. Who is it? Oh no, we don't. There's no one. Yeah, the Mystic class. Yeah, there's no one worth the generic. The only one that I would even debate putting there was Rintra, who we talked about in length already. But that one's a bit controversial. But yeah, Rintra's the only one that I would even debate putting here. There's no one else. There's no one else. You know, Iso Fiend's awakening ability, pretty sick, pretty good, especially against serpents. But we've had means to awaken her, so yeah. But if you didn't get her awakened and you pull a Mystic Gem, I would probably put her in the if you love them category. Yeah, she could be worth it. Maybe even in the class worthy category. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our final class now, which is Mutant. So let's go ahead, pull up Mutant, 7 stars, and let's take a gander here. Alright, let's go ahead, pull dish up like so. Alright, so I got no one listed if you love them, but for class worthy, we have some options. So, Nightcrawler. You know, Nightcrawler was a specialized Saga champion, our first ever Saga champion. So a lot of us have him unduped. So if you pull a Mutant Awakening Gem, he's an option. Not the best option, but an option for sure. Against all classes other than Tech, his evade chance cannot be lowered. So that is cool, makes him a stronger defender. And then you also increase the potency of Nightcrawler's instant bleed and critical damage rating by a certain percentage of his, based on Sig, of his current prowess potency. So that's just going to make him a stronger attacker. So the Sig is twofold, making him a stronger defender, harder to counter his evade, and also making him hit harder and do more damage on attack. So it's a pretty good awakening ability. Nightcrawler is a pretty great champ after his buff. Just don't really see him too often. But yeah, Nightcrawler's great, dude. And then, of course, we have Domino. You know, Domino is one of the best mutants to be investing signature levels in. Her critical failure ability is massive for her on defense and is what leads to so much damage when you don't have a counter. So Domino can absolutely be worth a class awakening, but again, the thing to keep in mind is she is in the basic pool and you could be pulling her at any given moment. Whereas Nightcrawler, if you give him an awakening gem, it's a safe investment and you don't have to worry about pulling him. Now, speaking of a safe investment, we also have Deadpool X-Force, you know, because he is from the Banquet event, similar to Sentinel and Medusa. So I think Deadpool X-Force can absolutely warrant a class awakening gem. His awakening ability is interesting. Now, there's no green numbers currently in the SIG, which is weird, because the green numbers are what are supposed to increase with signature levels. I'm guessing that last bullet point there that says 5.8 to 20% is supposed to be in green, and that's supposed to scale with SIG, but right now it looks weird. But let's read these. So the first bullet point: each time the opponent purifies a taunt debuff or a taunt debuff on the opponent is replaced due to hitting the max stack limit, Deadpool gains a power efficiency buff, reducing the cost of special attacks by 20% until the next special attack is used. Cooldown 25 to 5 seconds. So I would assume that should also be scaling with SIG. 25 at SIG 1, and then only 5 seconds at SIG 200. And then max stacks 2 on those power efficiency buffs. And then we have, this is the big one. Against skill champions, each Shableed debuff passive up to 1 reduces their regeneration rate by 5 to 20%. So what that means essentially is you'll counter Nick Fury's second life with that second bullet point there. You'll be able to kill Nick Fury and then prevent him from regenerating back to full with the Shableed debuff. So it's going to make him a great Nick Fury counter. And I mean, the first bullet point is nothing to scoff at either. Having the power efficiency buff, reducing the cost of your next special attack by 20% is really nice. And then they had 2 of those, you reduce it by 40%. So yeah, I think Deadpool is absolutely worth a Mutant Awakening gem, and absolutely worth this Glorious Guardians Awakening gem. I'm heavily debating right now between Medusa and Deadpool who to give this gem to. And yeah, I feel like they're both great options for it. They're both in our class worthy tier. I feel like Medusa gets a little bit more out of it, but I feel like Deadpool X-Force is more explosive. So I don't know. I feel like right now I'm leaning Deadpool X-Force, but I still haven't made up my mind completely. So if you guys want to give an argument in the comment section for Medusa or for Deadpool for this gem, let me know. But I think they both are equally worthy and in that class pool. And then our last one here is Onslaught. We all love Onslaught. He's the highest prestige in the game. He's a good awakening ability. He's not crazy or anything, but yeah, worth class gem for sure. Generic worthy. There are a couple generic worthy mutants. The first of which is Mr. Sinister. So Mr. Sinister was who like I told you guys earlier in the video when we were talking about Count Nefaria, I said I managed to get really lucky and I didn't have to give him the Awakening Gem from the events, the Saga Awakening Gem. What that allowed me to do was give it to Mr. Sinister. And I have both of these champions in the generic worthy category because they're both champions are that good and their awakened ability is that powerful. Mr. Sinister, dude, his dupe is bonkers. It's the only downside is it's RNG, and it's also bugged currently. I'm pretty sure just Mr. Sinister's regeneration rate is messed up. And so the science one, it increases his regeneration rate by 10%, but I think there's a bug with Mr. Sinister right now that is preventing his regeneration rate from being increased at all. So the Sig ability isn't increasing it. The Wolverine Relic isn't increasing it, but it's supposed to my understanding. That's the current situation. And, think about that for a second. Think about any time you've used Mr. Sinister, especially against like a Bullseye, for example. The regen is really good as is right now, bugged. So imagine if it gets fixed and he's able to regen even more. It'd be pretty insane. But the rest of these Sig abilities should be working totally fine. And the main one to look out for is the Mystic one. So that is going to increase your combat power rate. And I also said this signature ability is RNG because the way it works is you just get 3 random of these increases. So if you get really lucky, for example, and you trigger 3 of the Mystic ones, that's going to increase your combat power rate. And at Sig 69 right now, it's increasing it by 10% per Mystic charge. So let's say, again, you get lucky and you're defending Mr. Sinister, rolls 3 of those Mystic ones at the Sig 69. That's going to be 30% additional combat power rate that Mr. Sinister gets. So, and what's the crazy thing with Mr. Sinister? His special 1, his special 2, just baiting them is annoying. So just more power, more specials, more baiting, more things that can go wrong. And again, you can also use this offensively. So if you get lucky and you roll those Mystic ones, you're just going to be getting your bar of power thresholds that much faster. So, like, Mr. Sinister, great awakening ability, absolutely worth the signature level investment. And the best thing of all is there's no other way to awaken him. So the only way to get access to that awakening ability is through an awakening gem, which also means it's this pretty much the safest investment you can do because you're not going to pull that Mr. Sinister from any type of crystal and make you feel bad for wasting an awakening gem like I did with Hulk. So that's Mr. Sinister, dude. He's awesome. And then we have one more champion to talk about, and that is Dazzler. So she as well is generic worthy, a very, very new champion, but man, oh man, is she something. And that awakened ability is where a lot of the spice is. So the great thing about Dazzler, And a good way to think about and look at her sig is basically a light version of Namor. You know, Namor, he needs to be awakened. He needs to be sigged all the way at the absolute max, sig 200, to then, you know, take no damage while attacking and be reflecting that damage. Now, Dazzler can do it at sig 1. Just at sig 1. So giving her an awakening gem is incredible. But there is a downside. Her damage mitigation only applies to physical base damage. But, you know, that is a big trope in the skill class with Korg, Atuma, you know, those thorns. But any type of other thorns node, any type of physical damage, period, anywhere in the game, as long as you're attacking, you're going to be taking no damage. And you're also going to be reflecting some of that. Now, depending on the sig, is how much of that damage you're reflecting. But reflecting the damage is not the big deal. Being immune to the damage is the big deal. Dazzler's damage output already is insane, so she doesn't need to be reflecting that damage anyways. Now, the reason why you would want to put some SIGs into her, but she definitely does not need to take 200 or anything, for that second bullet point. So not only does Dazzler gain, you know, a light Namor ability, just at Sig 1, this moment you give her that Awakening Gem, she also gains a Pursuit passive, which counters Evade. So you don't have to worry about Evade. Now, which skill champion evades? And it's crazy. Bullseye. So, you know, I did a lot of testing with Dazzler. At Sig level 1, the 2-second window is pretty rough to deal with. But just at like a Sig level of 40, which is very attainable, the window is viable. Of course, the higher the Sig, the bigger the window. But I would say like past Sig 100, it doesn't really make a difference. Your window is already more than large enough at that point. Like I said, at Sig 40, the window felt fine. So, yeah, I think Dazzler is absolutely worth an Awakening Gem. A Mutant Awakening Gem, a generic Awakening Gem, whatever. She is that good. So yeah, guys, that is our entire list revealed, except for this one little spot, which is just nothing. But yeah, that is Lagacy's 7-star Awakening Gem guide. Best options in my humble opinion. And one last thing to mention is that if the champion you're thinking about awakening, you know, is not already rank 3, and you're not planning to take them to rank 3, you probably shouldn't awaken them. That's just a general rule of thumb. You should only be awakening your highest level of champions, or the champions that you at least plan on taking to the highest level. Yeah, just one last piece of advice I wanted to leave you guys with. But yeah, that is going to go ahead and wrap it up for this full 7-star Awakening Gem guide. And yeah, just to end things, talk about, I currently have 3 7-star Awakening Gems. The first of which is Skill, and I'm saving this one for Atuma right now. I guess I could take up Black Panther. That is an option for me, at least. Which honestly I might do. I might do that. I'll have to see. If I really fall in love with Black Panther, maybe I will. But yeah, my only other real option for the Skill one is Atuma right now. Like I said, Skill is the weakest class in the game for 7 stars, and for Awakening Gems especially. Then we have Tech, which I think is very good. I got some great options here. Shocker is honestly an option too. He wasn't on the list. But if you want to, I think Shocker is totally fine unawakened. Honestly, I think he's totally fine. But being awakened and being at a decent Sig is nice. So if you want to awaken Shocker, I could totally see that. He is in the basic pool now. If Shocker wasn't in the basic pool now, I would have had him on the list. But now he is, so I'll probably just dupe him eventually on that way. But yeah, Sentinel, I think is 100% who's going to be getting this Awakening Gem. Pretty much already decided that. Just waiting to record the actual video to do it. And then I got this guy with all 6 options currently. And this one is going to either be Deadpool or Medusa. I'm still on the fence, but Deadpool or Medusa. Let me know in the comments down below which one you guys want to see. Deadpool or Medusa get that gem. But yeah, that's all my Awakening Gems. That's all my thoughts right now. That's going to do it for the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if so, I would really appreciate you dropping a like rating on the video. It really helps me and the channel and just my content get out there to more people. Thank you guys so much for all the support. This month has been crazy, and I'm so excited for next year for more to come. Subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any more content on the way. Videos daily, live streams, more on the way as well. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Hope you have a great, wonderful day. Good luck with your awakenings. Awaken who you want at the end of the day. It's a game. Let's have fun. Peace.